Good evening, Littleton, and welcome to the Select Board meeting from Monday, November 9th, 2020. We have two parts to tonight's meeting. The first will be an executive session, followed by convening back into open session. So we're going to begin tonight by entering into executive session, and we will, as I said, resume into open session thereafter. Executive session will be entering into pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, to conduct strategy session in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel. Do we have a motion?
Yep.
Mr. Chair?
Madam Chair, let's see if I can find it
Just call
here.
Mr. Chair.
It is, okay. I will move that the Select Board vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A. To conduct a strategy session in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, Mr. Glavy?
Aye.
Mr. Knox?
Aye.
Mr. DeCoste?
Aye.
Mr. Nordhaus?
Aye.
And Cindy Napoli is aye. So we will now sign off and enter into executive session, and we will be back shortly. Thank you. Good evening, Littleton, and welcome back to the Select Board meeting for Monday, November 9th, 2020. We're going to begin this meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we begin tonight's meeting with organization and a Veterans Day proclamation and a reading of the mail. That will be followed by Department Board update requests. We have a request from Chief of Police Matthew Pernard regarding contract approval award for landscaping, and a request from Chris Stoddard, the DPW Director, for approval of a paving contract and approval of plowing private ways contract. Then we have Maren Toohill, our town planner, has a Housing Choice Action Grant award she would like us to approve for Hager Homestead Infrastructure. That will be followed by Ashley Shaheen, EHS Director. She's going to give us an update on the Senior Tax Work-Off Program and acceptance of gift from Ed Zweenies, Kathy Coughlin, and Robert Adams. That will be followed by Sean O'Brien, Treasurer, Assistant of Director, Finance and Budget, and approval of band awards for TD Securities. That will be followed by, hopefully at 7:15, public input and members' updates. And then we have Select Board discussion regarding an approval of contract for services for Steve Venuti, Finance Department Transition Plan, Director Budget, with the Director of Budget and Finance, Cheryl Herrick-Stella. And we're going to discuss meeting protocols for in-person hybrid meetings. That will be followed by a town administrator update and general updates. And then we will have a consent agenda, vote to sign the town administrator contract, a vote to sign the contract for services for environmental sampling and testing services for asbestos survey for 119 Tehadawon Road, a vote to sign a contract agreement between the Cambridge Public Health Commission and the town of Littleton, an affirmation of approval to submit to the MIIA grant application for DPW safety monitoring equipment. That will be followed by meeting minutes, and then our meeting will adjourn. So I'd like to begin tonight's meeting in acknowledgement of Veterans Day, which is this Wednesday, November 11th. As many of you may recall, last year we had the rededication of the Edgar P. Romley Veterans Corner, which was a very special event for our community. What a difference a year makes. Who knew that we would, right around the corner, our life as we knew it would change so much. So in honor of Veterans Day this year, I would like to read a proclamation on behalf of the Select Board. This is a proclamation, whereas thousands of men and women have served our country in defense of freedom and liberty. And whereas on November 11th, 1918, the armistice was signed by the Alliance nations in Germany, ending World War I, the war to end all wars, after 4 years of conflict. And whereas since that day, every November, people from around the nation have gathered to honor our veterans. And whereas today we are reminded of the great sacrifices and contributions our veterans and their families have made to our country. And whereas we salute those who served our country throughout the generations, we honor patriotism and courage. And whereas it is appropriate that all citizens remember the bravery of those who served their country, so that their dedication and sacrifices serve as a reminder of the cost of our freedom. Now therefore, we, the Select Board of the Town of Littleton, recognize Wednesday, November 11th, 2020 as Veterans Day, and urge all citizens of the Town of Littleton to take cognizance of this event and participate fittingly as its observance. Thank you. I would just also like to take this opportunity to remind the public that there will be a virtual Veterans Day acknowledgement aired on LCTV starting Wednesday morning, Veterans Day. So if you wish to participate and honor Veterans Day, please tune in and view that ceremony. Thank you. And now we'll go on to a reading of the mail. Mr. Layden?
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Within the board's packet, there's a number of correspondences. One is the October 2020 newsletter from Littleton Electric, Light, and Water Departments. One thing of note is that it does talk about the special town meeting approval for water treatment, as well as the approval for the discharge site at the high school, identifying it as one step closer to sewer system. Also have a letter from DHCD recognizing 2 units at Bluebird Way. This is Jones Meadow as affordable units, and that it counts towards our subsidized housing inventory. Last document in the board's packet is an environmental notification form from the Littleton Water Department. The environmental notification form is part of the state review process, MEPA process, for the proposed construction of 3 bedrock wells, Cobb's Pond bedrock wells, in a small pumping station, including chemical treatment to the supply of drinking water in Littleton.
Great, thank you. So we are now on to the next item in our agenda. We have department board updates and requests. And the first on the agenda is Chief Matthew Pennard. Is Chief
So I'm
Pennard on
going
the
to
call?
take this. I'm going to take this. So one of the things that I've been working with the chief on over the last couple months has been pulling together a contract and following procurement processes for selecting a landscape consultant. Landscape maintenance firm to do work at the police station. We put out requests for bids and received response, and the chief and I would like to award the contract to Cataldo, and it's a 3-year contract for landscaping services that includes mulch trimming of bushes, shrubs, and also snow removal.
Okay, great, thank you. Did any members of the board have a question about the contract?
Snow removal being walks and
Walkways,
pathways.
exactly. So one of the main things is existing practices is for the police officers to actually shovel walkways around the building. One, it's a potential liability. You have someone slip, fall, that's something that then
An
we're not.
employee or a resident or anybody in the public,
Exactly,
right? Yeah.
exactly. So, and also just response. I mean, if you have a quick moving storm, you're taking officers off of duty in order to address
Absolutely.
the premises. So we've included that into the landscape contract so that during winter months, that's included.
Good.
Do they still have a plow truck?
The DPW now plows for them. That was the whole swap. Remember when Chris and Matt came up with a swap and saved us a bunch of money?
Okay, any other questions or comments?
Ready for motion?
Please.
Joe, could you give me again the name of the company? I need to insert that here.
Cataldo.
Oh, of course.
Is there an amount in here in the packet?
It's not in the packet. The amount was 13,000 for year one, 13,250 for year two, and then 13,500 for year three.
Seems reasonable.
And the motion otherwise as written is fine as it is, Joe?
Yes.
Okay. And I will move that the Select Board vote to award a contract for landscaping services at the police station to Cataldo Corporation pending successful reference checks and to authorize the interim town administrator to sign.
Joe, is it MJ Cataldo, just so we get it?
Yes, it is.
Okay, then MJ, that should have been MJ Cataldo.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, Mr. Glavy?
Aye?
Mr. Knox?
Aye.
Mr. DeCoste?
Aye.
Mr. Nordhaus?
Aye.
Cindy Napoli is aye. The motion is approved as written. And next we have Chris Stoddard, our DPW Director. He has two contracts that he would like us to approve this evening. Do we have Mr. Stoddard on the call?
Yes, we do.
Hi,
Good
Chris.
evening.
Hey, Chris.
He's talking, but
Yep.
Can't see if I mentioned. There you go.
Good evening.
Hello. Can you
Hello.
hear me?
Yep.
We can.
Okay. I'm not sure what's on the agenda first. I think it's the paving project.
It is.
Correct.
Yeah. So this is a quick hitter. We're trying to get this in before winter. This is to finish the paving on Matawanaki Trail and then to reclaim and pave Fletcher Lane. It's a $144,000 contract. We had 7 bidders. PJ Keating is the one that won it. We're actually hoping to get them to start tomorrow, subject to your approval of the contract.
Okay, great. Any questions or comments from the board? Okay.
Okay. And I will move that the Select Board vote to award a contract for resurfacing and related work at various locations to P.J. Keating of Lunenburg, Mass. in the amount of $144,407.50 to authorize the interim town administrator to sign.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Perfect.
Switching it up on us.
I am.
Madam
Excellent.
Chair, this next motion, I live on one of the private ways, so I will obviously abstain from the vote. Shall I recuse myself and leave the room as well?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, we're ready for the next one.
Okay, so, yeah, this next one is the private road plowing, and as part of the policy, we have to, all the roads are inspected. We create a list of conditions. The property owners on the street have to bring it up to a certain standard so that way we can plow it. You do have a list of the roads that that currently have issues still. They are all aware of it, and I believe they all have plans in place to get them repaired. And then the rest have no issues. So I believe the way the motion is worded, it takes into account the ones that are satisfied and the ones that aren't
It does.
subject to our approval. Or my approval, I should say.
Okay. Any questions from the board, comments?
And this list is up to date, Joe?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, great. Chris, if you hear anything that doesn't sound right, I'm going to read from the list, so, anyway.
Paul, can you sneak Brandy Hollow in there when you say?
Nice try.
Move that the Board of Selectmen vote pursuant to its August 28, 2000 policy on plowing, sanding private ways to approve the list of roads as recommended by the Highway Department report dated November 5th, 2020 as follows. Approved without further conditions. Barron Way, Deer Run Road, Green Needles Road back half, Green Needles Road, Neshoba Woodland section. Great Road, number 504 to 512, plowing only. Hiddenwood Path, Robinwood Road, Rock Place, Silver Birch Lane, Star Hill, Whispering Pine Drive, Whitcomb Avenue, number 139 to 149, and Winged Code Road. Approved subject to conditions set forth by the Highway Department. Countryside Road, Cricket Lane, Oak Ridge Road, Omega Way.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, Mr. Glavy?
Aye.
Mr. Knox?
Aye.
Mr. DeCoste?
So confused. Aye.
It says roll call vote. Mr. Nordhaus?
Abstain.
And Cindy Napoli is aye. Motion is approved as written. Thank you very much, Chris.
Awesome, thank you guys.
It said roll call vote.
They all
They all
roll
say
They
it.
all say it.
Okay, so.
I love lamp.
Okay, so next up, we have a Housing Choice Action Grant regarding the Hager Homestead infrastructure. Do we have Maren on the call?
Yes, we do.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So, this is a request, for permission to submit a housing choice, grant for the Hager Homestead, development proposal. Hager has put together a lovely little, 5-page, PowerPoint presentation. I'm not gonna go through all of it, but the high points are that, the grant would be for community connections, to the sewer, connections to the water, and connections to the trails. So work would all be done either on town property or on town easements. And the amount of the grant application would be $250,000. Representatives from Hager are available for questions if you have any.
I don't have any questions with regard to the grant proposal. Does any other questions or comments from the board?
I love the fact that the linkage is included in this project.
Yeah, I do too.
I assume that Hager has talked to Littleton Water Department on the sewer capacity.
Yes, they have.
Okay.
The Wilson Water Department has submitted an application to DEP to add this site to the town sewer.
Excellent. Thank you.
Excellent, great.
So one of the reasons why we were bringing in front of the board was that there's a December 11th deadline for that grant, and because there's a lot of information that we need to pull together, both from a town's perspective and with the help of the developer, want to make sure that we had enough runway to get those things together, and that way, if the board did want to see how things were coming out and wanted to see it one more time, we had enough time to sort of show more of a complete application.
Appreciate that. Great.
Okay, ready? I will move that the select board vote to support the preparation of a housing choice grant application for infrastructure improvements to support the Hager Homestead project.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Great, so the motion is approved as written. Thank you very much for your work on this, Maren, appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for your support.
Thanks, Mark.
Okay, great. So next, we are on to Ashley Shaheen, our EHS Director. It's going to discuss the senior tax work-off program and acceptance of some gifts.
Hello.
Hello.
All right, so I'm here tonight to move forward with the senior tax work-off program. We'd like to start enrolling folks into the program by advertising the program in the upcoming December newsletter. The enrollment time frame would be December 7th until the 18th. We are planning to contact prior participants with the enrollment paperwork through email, the option to pick up at town hall or to be mailed out by request. And we did amend the application for the program to include COVID-19 safety protocols for the jobs within the town buildings. And we will divide out the number of hours based on the number of folks enrolled, so folks know the amount of hours that they can work. But we really need to take this first step in order to move forward with the program. So I'm looking for your approval in the first step.
Great.
So, if I can add support for Ashley in this, she and her department did a great job as far as trying to incorporate some of the employee standards that we had developed to make sure that employees, when we brought them back, were also safe. It does have the waiver form that town council had worked on, the COVID-19 waiver form. And in talking to staff, we've had a lot of discussions as far as trying to identify creative ways that we can utilize them. If we can utilize senior tax work-off remote, we will. We have areas that have designated space, and I've encouraged department heads to really try to think as far as what we could utilize seniors for. It was good to work with Ashley as well as Jim Garaffi and Chief Wodzinski as far as sort of talking things through so we could present this material that Ashley prepared to the board.
That's great, thank you. I really like the different areas of interest that they can circle, and hopefully you can find a good fit for them based on their responses. So this looks great. Are there any questions or comments from the board?
Madam Chair, if I may?
Sure.
I remember the last time we talked, you mentioned that there was less opportunity this year because of space constraints. Do you have any sense of like how many hours this year versus last?
So that's a hard number to give you tonight. It would all be based on how many folks we have apply into the program. And I think since we last spoke, that the number of jobs too has increased as staff, even in different departments, have thought of other jobs that folks could potentially complete at home. So I'm happy to give you an update once we have everyone enrolled and the jobs are allocated in terms of how many hours per senior. But I do think people realize the number of hours will not be as high as previous years because of the extraordinary circumstances that we're all living through right now.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Any other questions?
Nope.
Okay.
Is
Ready
there a
for
motion? Yep.
Sure.
Move that the select board vote to support the EHS director's plan for starting the senior tax worker-off program.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great, so the motion is approved as written, and now
Yay! This is the best news! Thank you.
Ashley, that was easy.
Thank you for all your hard work, Ashley.
So just before we got into the next one, I did want to let you know, because I did include it in the material that I sent to the board. Back a couple of months ago, when Ashley and I had sort of talked about bringing back some of the programs, the board had basically said, follow safe guidelines, work with Jim Garaffi and Chief Wodzinski as far as bringing things back to Town Hall and the multi-purpose room. For the board, there was something that was going in the December newsletter as far as two programs. One, just a stress relief sort of stretching type thing, and then also was it quilting, Ashley?
No, it was the arts and crafts.
Oh, arts and
class.
crafts. Well, that's arts and crafts of a type. As sort of like the first test ones to bring back. Even though the room capacity is like 17, she's just introducing 8, so that we can really work out some of the situations with sanitizing things, cleaning things, and make sure we can sort of get used to those. And again, if something happens on the state level or on the local level that we have to shut things down, we of course are prepared to, but did want to at least give the board an update on that.
Great.
Yeah, I think that's great, Joan. Appreciate you for sharing that with the select board. It's important to mention that it's slowly, steadily, carefully. It's no race in terms of welcoming back programs. We'll start off slow and then hopefully being able to add programs in as the weeks and months develop.
That's great. The timing's
And it's
perfect.
actually is a good time to give a shout out to our survey that we have right now on the department's website. intended for responses for people to express what they're interested in terms of scaling up the operation, whether that be fitness classes or art classes, educational offerings. So we really want to hear from residents and lean on residents as we build out the program during COVID.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Ready for a motion?
There wasn't one
Oh,
on
no,
that.
I'm
I just
sorry,
wanted
I'm
to provide an
skipping.
update while we
I forgot
had
about
a captive
that.
audience here with the board.
Right, so now we're on to the gifts. So we've had some active residents who are stepping up to assist our Department of EHS. It's wonderful. If you want to speak to these at all, Ashley, or?
Oh, sure. So since July, Ed Sweeney's has been donating his monthly tips to our department, intended for families and seniors in need of groceries, rent, medical bills, essential items. And prior to July, he was donating to the schools. So he's been donating his tips for many, many years in the community. And for October, he donated $393. Last week, he actually came into my office to mention that the Trinity Ambulance Service out of Lowell had given him $500 in contributions towards our department. And he's trying to match that donation and receiving $250 from tips, and then he said that he would contribute $250 as well. So it's amazing what he's doing for the community and how he's helping out so many families and seniors in need.
That's excellent.
We did, or Ashley did, not we. Ashley did reach out as far as Chuck, you had mentioned, hey, it would be great to have him come in. He unfortunately couldn't make for the Zoom call, but definitely had expressed interest in joining for another meeting.
That's wonderful. And there was 2 other donations on here. Kathy Coughlin, with respect to the EHS News Center Gift Fund. I believe that was the impromptu yard sale on the lawn of the Baptist Church.
Yes, so that happened last month, October 10th. Kathy worked very quickly to organize a yard sale to honor a fellow resident's wish to sell her holiday items. And all the proceeds are benefiting the EHS New Senior Center Gift Fund. So shout out to Kathy and everyone else who worked to make that yard sale happen, and anyone that came out that day and supported. I still remember the earrings that you purchased, Cindy.
Should have worn them tonight.
At the last board meeting, or the one that I was in attendance. So.
I have scarecrows. I should have wore the scarecrows.
And then the other donation is a conference table from Robert Adams. And that was originally from the Victorian Littleton Townhouse. So we have a little bit of Littleton history here within our department, and hopefully when we move into a new spot, we can take that with us as well.
Okay, do you know, Ashley, Madam Chair, if you don't mind, I think that is, it's Robert Adam. It's spelled once here quite correctly with no S at the end. It'd be the brother of Ken Adam, who worked for many years at the Bennett Street School down on the north end in Boston making furniture. Now, he didn't make this, and this is an antique piece from Littleton, because if this is Robert Adam, then I think it is. He grew up in Littleton, lived in Shirley for about 40 years, but his brother Ken was a member of the Board of Selectmen here for a number of years, Ken Adam, and
The history sounds a little bit familiar. I know that he restored
yeah,
the table.
okay, that's what he does. He builds and restores furniture, yeah.
Yeah, so he said that he restored it 30 years ago and replaced the top.
Right.
So if you wanted to make an appointment with us, you're welcome to
Well,
come on down and check out the table yourself. But it is beautiful.
Yeah, I'm just tickled to see, he probably hasn't lived in Littleton in 40 to 50 years, right? You know Robert Adam, right? Lived up in Shirley. But anyway, that's great.
Like the history.
Okay, you ready for a motion, Madam Chair?
Please.
All right. I will move that the board vote to accept the $393 donation from the Ed's Weenies to the EHS Outreach and Programs gift account, the $1,135 donation from Kathy Coughlin to the EHS New Center Gift Fund, and the donation of a conference table estimated to be valued at $2,000 from Robert Adam to the EHS Department.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent.
Just
Thanks.
gonna- no, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, just to throw another tidbit on top of the Ed's Weenies thing, Jim Arciero brought Christopher Dick, who is one of the executives from Trinity, to Ed's for lunch, and that's how it, that's how.
Oh, nice.
That's
That's
cool.
the impetus of that little.
That's cool.
So
That's
thanks,
really
Jim,
cool.
and thanks, Chris Dick and Trinity.
Excellent. Great.
Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you very much, Ashley.
Oh, thanks, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thanks, you too. So next we are on to the approval of band awards to TD Securities. Mr. O'Brien was here earlier. Oh, and there he is
He doesn't like
on
wearing
the
a mask.
Zoom. Good evening.
Good evening. Just to run through, as I talked to you last time, there was the band bids that went out on October 28th. From those results, we had four bidders, and TD Securities was the low bid based on net interest costs. So with the total amount plus the premium, we're borrowing $10.4 million at 0.395%. So we're pretty happy with the results from there. A lot of these projects are already underway and will be rolled forward. The big new one is the $5.6 million ban for the library construction. So with that, I do have a few items that I've provided to Joe to distribute for sign-off that's required to complete the issuance. Included in that is the actual notes, the vote of the select board, the signature, no litigation official statement certificate, and the significant events disclosure certificate. So, Joe, if you wouldn't mind passing those around, and I'll send them in, but happy to answer any questions.
Great. Thank you. Are there any questions from the board, Mr. O'Brien? No? Excellent. Great. Thank you very much.
Those are great rates. Thanks, Sean.
Nice.
Appreciate it.
For a motion, Madam Chair.
Show you were really shaking them down for those rates, right? Steve teach you his ways.
Of course, yeah.
Thank you both.
Okay. Then I will move that the Board of Selectmen vote to adopt the form of the vote prescribed by bond counsel, a copy of which is attached hereto and made part hereof, relative to the approval of a $10,423,000 bond anticipation note dated November 20, 2020, sold to TD Securities and maturing November 19, 2021 at 0.395543% interest for the following projects: library construction, $5,667,000, $667,100. The 10/29/19 special town meeting, Article 13, Whitcomb Avenue, Wells, $1,965,900 at the 5/7/18 annual town meeting, Article 19. Library design and construction, $1,473,700 from the 5/6/19 annual town meeting, Article 5. Water treatment, PFAS, $823,100 at the 10/28/19 special town meeting, Article 12. And sewer design, $493,200 at the 10/29/18 special town meeting, Article 10.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Great. The motion is approved as written. Perfect. Thank you very much, Sean. Have a great night.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Thanks, Sean, you too.
So for this item, all the tabs are for signatures. I'll start with you, Paul. First two tabs are just you as clerk of the board, and then go through the rest so that you then would sign, and then everyone else can sign the remaining sheets.
Okay, great. Thank you. So next we are on to public input and members' updates. Do we have anyone for public input, Mr. Layden?
Yes, we have Mark Rambarker.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can. Good evening.
This is Mark Rambacher, library trustee. I wanted to give you a quick update on the library building project. As you can see, looking out your window, the building is going up very quickly. We're going to have, well, we were hoping to have a topping off ceremony, but with COVID, we can't really do that. But what's going to happen is for the rest of the week, from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m., we're inviting everyone in town to come and sign the top beam. So people can come and go to the entrance by the ball field by the trailer, not the main construction entrance over by the tennis courts, but the one, there's a little man gate over by the trailer. People can come in and we'll be able to sign the beam before it goes in next week. So it's 8 to 3, Tuesday through Friday of this week. People can come in and sign.
That's cool, Mark.
That's a great idea.
What are the hours again?
8 to 3.
8 to 3 for the rest of the week?
8 a.m. to 3 p.m.
8 a.m. to 3 p.m. this week.
Great, excellent. That's really cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have anyone else, Mr. Layden?
No, there does not appear to be anyone else.
Okay, so now we'll go on to member updates. Mr. Nordhaus, do you have anything to share?
I do. I had a busy 2 weeks. Mr. Knox and I attended a Board of Health meeting as individuals a week or so ago, and afterwards the COVID advisory team invited me to attend one of their meetings, and I was really blown away by the quantity and quality of the information that they're putting together. They're working right now on getting a free testing program together for Littleton, and they talked to Chief Wazinski about the logistics of that. And they included me in a conversation about messaging and how they could support the Board of Health. And they brought up the recent changes that Governor Baker made. They brought Katrina Hedberg, who's the person who does the data analysis, sort of made those suggestions about a week before Governor Baker did. So I was very impressed with that. And Mr. Knox, if he wants to share his thoughts about that, he's welcome to. And I had a housing authority meeting. That board hasn't ever had, believe it or not, any policies in electronic form. So I scanned them in and entered them, and now they have policies in electronic form. And then Mr. Layden and I attended the Council on Aging meeting this afternoon. It was just a few hours ago. And it was great. We talked a lot about affordable housing. They have, I think, they're very much in alignment with the Affordable Housing Trust and the Stationary Committee as far as their goals. I think their priority is to do a survey and determine what seniors in Littleton want. There was a lot of discussion about some of the recent housings. They have not gone to Littleton residents. Some of the affordable ones have not gone to Littleton residents. And so there was a talk about maybe we're not building the right things. But I think this is a perfect opportunity for interboard communication. And my goal is to make sure that those three boards and this one know what is going on with each other, because there's definitely a lot of possibility for working together and making something great for the seniors, for housing for the seniors. And one thing I forgot, the Pine Tree Park got approved for a whole new septic system over the next 3 or 4 years. It's huge from the state. It's a huge undertaking. It's like almost $750,000. So kudos to Lisa Larrabee, the executive director, for getting that through. They really need a lot of maintenance there.
Was it ever looked into as to whether or not they should connect to the existing town system and pay into it?
I don't know, actually. Maybe we should ask the water
If somebody
department.
builds a whole new system there, since they're right next door to one, we could use the cash flow and they might get a
Yeah.
simpler solution out of it.
We should probably talk to the water department about that and see if it's feasible.
Because the pipe just runs the downhill.
Yeah.
But great news in any event.
Yeah, it's a
no,
great
it's really
update.
good. So that's me.
Excellent. Mr. DeCoste?
The update on the sewer working group, Paul and I are both members of the sewer working group, and we have a meeting this Thursday. We're expected to receive the appraisals for the potential sites for the treatment facility, so that's exciting. So hopefully at the next meeting, we'll have maybe not any choices made at that point, but it'd be nice to understand what the cost estimates are, the appraisals are for the proposed sites. So it's moving forward. It's good.
All right, excellent, thank you. So my update sort of aligns with Mr. Nordhaus's with respect to the Affordable Housing Trust. We did have an excellent presentation a few weeks ago from Nancy from Mass Housing Development. The board decided to step back and take time to review that, and we're planning on discussing that report tomorrow night at our meeting. To echo Mr. Nordhaus's sentiments, I think really everybody seems to be aligning and communicating really well. And I'm confident that there's some projects coming forward that are going to really produce the type of housing that we do need for our seniors. It seems like we've finally gotten a lot of the answers that we've been looking for. And I think it'll be exciting to see some of those projects come to fruition and finally help in that regard with respect to affordable housing, not only for our seniors, but also for a lot of the working class residents in Littleton as well. The only other thing I wanted to mention is I'm working on a project with Mr. Crory, Mr. Mark Crory and LCTV to kind of document this year, the year 2020 in Littleton, through a video which will include some interviews of staff as well as photographs from residents. I've collected about 100 photographs so far, and I'm asking residents if you have any photos from this past year that you'd like to share and have included in the video, to please email them to photos01460@gmail.com so that we can incorporate those into the video. We thought it would be a great idea to try to memorialize this past year in some respects, and that was the best way to kind of go forward and do that. So again, if you have any photos you'd like to submit, please send them to photos01460@gmail.com. If you have any questions, you can certainly reach out to myself or Mr. Crory.
The nice part about that 2020 is you can fast forward through it.
Right. True.
Not that you'd want to. You wouldn't want to fast forward through that, would you?
Oh, yeah, thanks,
Sorry.
Chuck. Mr. Knox?
Photos at,
Now, just quickly, just to echo what Mr. Nordhaus said, we both by chance were on the same Zoom, didn't even know it at the time, but I had turned it on just to try to get some information about COVID from the Board of Health, and I was pleasantly surprised at the amount of information that organization, the CAT, the COVID Action Team,
COVID advisory team, I think.
the information they put together and volunteered, and the hours spent to make those presentations so the public can know, and hopefully we can get them in here soon to give a little bit of background about the whole thing, because I think the whole town should know that where we stand, what could be happening in the future, the testing that can be done. It was very pleasant. Unfortunately, I missed part of that because I had to step out of the room, and Mr. Nordhaus picked up on the whole thing, but it was well worth watching. And I did it by chance, I turned it on, I thought it was COVID, turned it on, and it was interesting.
Right. Mr. Glavy?
Two items. First off, I'll make the assumption, Madam Chair, that the conflict you'd had with the Brown property is more or less moot at this point, since the vote's taken place, and I don't know if the office that you work with is any more involved or not, but
Honestly, I have no idea.
okay, all right.
Yeah.
Well, this
know
wouldn't,
anything that's
I don't
going
think
on
this is going to
about it,
upset any
seriously.
applicants, but in terms of update, Joe and I have been part of an email chain, and some of the follow-up work has been, there's no need to make you leave the room unnecessarily, that's all.
Thank you, appreciate that.
The initial site assessment has been done, and, it told us what we kind of already knew going into it relative to some of the underground gas from old tanks that have been there a long time ago. And so there's a call tomorrow with updating us with some of the engineering folks as well as town council and Sudbury Valley trustees, Joe, right? And
exactly.
and Amy Green as well. So we'll have more of an update going on, but no surprises, progress being made. Sudbury Valley trustees has also worked on some language for a proposed conservation restriction for the part of the property that won't be covered by the housing. And, we haven't seen that final language yet, but moving along on it. The other item I wanted to just bring up is, a week ago Saturday, we had Halloween, and of course this board's last interaction with that was the unfortunate, decision, the unfortunate necessity, and anyway, in some of our minds to forego the Christmas, forgo Christmas, no, that's not happening, forgo the trick-or-treating, but I want to applaud especially our chair and a number of folks in town who quickly put together an element of community around the Halloween holiday, and the pumpkin display on the common. I know a number of folks worked to make that happen on short notice, and there seems to be a lot of interest that, hopefully next year when we're back to trick-or-treating as a norm, we will also preserve the new tradition of having a set of stands there with the jack-o'-lantern display. The highway department stepped up. I know Jamie Cruz from Springdale Farm stepped up. I believe Anne Marie Cosgrove Grouse was involved as well. I'm sure you could name other folks that were helpful in that.
Yeah.
But it's amazing in a 3 or 4 day period to make that happen, and a lot of people took note of it and appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thank you for mentioning that, Mr. Glavy. It was, I do need to thank Chris Stoddard from the Highway Department, because I just, sent him a message and said, what are your thoughts? Do we have anything we could possibly display the pumpkins on? And he immediately thought of the bleachers. Steve Mark from the school said, certainly, go ahead and take them, and they were set up within hours, actually. And residents did all step up, donated tea lights and came forward. And I was really very pleased with the response. And there was a lot of great pumpkins. A lot of people put a lot of time and effort into very creative pumpkin carving. So certainly it seems like it's a new tradition, and certainly something that we will, that will grow over the years. So it was good. Something different that came out of the decision not to go forward with trick-or-treating. I think something positive, so looking forward to next year.
Can I jump in just from an economic development standpoint?
Sure.
So I think we as a board need to get together with FinCom and with Cheryl and start looking at income from taxes, especially from businesses. I know the point has been hit very heavily and very hard. And many of the businesses in our community have been hit. Some businesses are thriving based upon the nature of the pandemic, but many, you and I have had some conversations offline about many of the restaurants, and I know that Mr. Mullen has expressed some concerns about some of our businesses, and I think he attended the Littleton Business Association meeting last night, was it?
No, it was
2 nights ago.
A couple nights ago.
Last Thursday.
Last Thursday,
that's right,
last Thursday evening, so whatever it was. There are some fees that we do collect, and maybe we should start taking a look at what the impact would be if we were trying to work with the businesses to keep them afloat and have those conversations with FinCom and with Cheryl in the room to find out what the true impacts would be if we were to do some sort of, whether it's waiving, stepping back, or what have you. So it is something that has come up from the folks in the Economic Development Committee as well. So I think it's something we need to probably put on an agenda, maybe the next agenda, just because I think it's pretty important.
It's actually already on it.
Perfect.
One step ahead of you. Yeah, we actually had worked with, Diane Dickerson's been working with Cheryl to gather some of that data, and we are planning to have it on our agenda for our next meeting to discuss.
We had mentioned it, but.
Yep.
Just to show the impact it has on all businesses. Our new hotel that was thriving, it was sold out all the time. I think they're limited to 30% because of COVID, and they're not even reaching 30% right
Yeah.
now. That's the effect that this has on businesses.
Right.
And they were used to being pretty well sold out.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah. So anything that we can do to
Right.
Mr. DeCoe's point, let's sit down and talk about it and certainly do what we can to support them. Thank you. So next we are on to select board discussion. We have approval of a contract for services with Steve Venuti. So this was part of the transition planning that the board had discussed in anticipation of Mr. Venuti's departure from the town of Littleton, but having him stay on board just to provide some additional services to assist our new hires to transition into their positions. I think at one point the board had anticipated that because we had posted the job so early, that there wouldn't be a need for any additional services after the date of Mr. Venuti's official end date with the town of Littleton. But for various reasons, including town meeting and some other factors, there is a need for him to have him stay on, and I believe that there's a contract and a scope of services that's in there. So maybe, Mr. Layden, you can just elaborate a little bit more on that.
Sure, Madam Chair, and I think you've hit nail on its head. And there is a revised contract and scope of services. Cheryl had taken another look as far as what assistance would be needed. So the board had also received sort of an update as far as broader training. And present this to the board. I think one of the items here is that when we're looking for trying to accomplish training, especially when we're dealing with a number of weeks leading up to the retirement, some small sort of hiccups, some unexpected things can all of a sudden sort of throw your timeline a little off. So before you is basically assistance through November and December to help sort of flesh out the training that we wanted our new assistant treasurer as well as treasurer to receive. So and we do have Cheryl on the call if you also have additional questions as well.
Okay, great. And I just wanted to let the board know that council did review this contract and provided some minor revisions. So it has been reviewed and approved by council. And we do have Cheryl on the call. There she is.
Hi, Madam Chair.
Good evening.
Yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions anyone might have. I think Joe summarized it pretty well.
Do you have any questions?
We comfortable that this is going to get the job done?
Yeah.
Is the training going to be recorded in some way? Like, I know if you did it via Zoom, you could record the session, but in person you can't. Is that necessary or desirable to do? Like, if there's something that gets covered but is forgotten later, we can't go back to Steve.
Right, yeah, so I will say that, part of the process is the individuals are taking copious notes that they'll be able to reference back, which they have been doing for the previous 2 weeks while they were still in employment. So as far as recording some of the sessions, I don't know if we could record them per se, but that is a good suggestion. So I would certainly something I'd be willing to explore with Steve as well as the treasurer and assistant treasurer, see where it might make sense.
Or at least developing SOPs, whether it's a manual or
Right.
some sort of,
Yeah, some documentation of the process.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I have a question relative to the contract term. Mr. Glavy asked if that would be, if basically it's December 31st, 2020 going to be enough, but there is the option of us mutually agreeing to extend the term. My only question is the language that says at 2-month intervals. If we need another 2 weeks of Steve, do we have to sign on for another two months?
No, no, that's not the intention of that language.
It's in the contract, though.
Well, we'll write a new contract if we have to.
Okay.
Do you know, Cheryl, do you know why that 2-month interval is incorporated in there? Is there a specific reason why that would be necessary, or?
I mean, I think it was because we felt that the training that was, you know, in that scope of services should be completed in 2 months. And so that if for some reason there was a requirement for something beyond at that point, then, you know, Steve and myself would have to come back to the board for the approval on that. So that it's not kind of an indefinite contract, but there was a finite period of time here.
Honestly, if that wasn't 2 months and it said 2-week intervals and you guys were able to negotiate that with him without coming back to us, I'd be okay with the 2-week interval. Figuring that you could maximize his, even if you only need them for 3 days, but you could use them for 2 weeks, I'd be okay with that. But 2 months, you know, if we only need them for a week or 3 days, I'd hate to be locked in because it's in the contract.
Yeah, that's a good
I would
point,
want to address that.
right. I mean, can we just strike that?
Well, this has been agreed upon.
Amended, it
Russ.
hasn't, well, it hasn't been adopted by this
No,
board
we're talking
yet.
about it right now.
Right, yeah.
Yeah,
Where is that? I can't even find it.
it's under contract term.
The second to last paragraph.
Right in the middle of that paragraph.
All right, got it.
You could just say, agreed in writing with intervals and scope of services to be agreed upon
Mutually.
mutually, or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'd be much more comfortable with something like that than,
We're gonna go with that language, and Joe, you've got that recorded or so, because I'll make a motion.
Yeah, we
as-
got it recorded. I'll-
Yeah, right, yeah.
I'll
I'll
do that.
state
Sue's got it.
as amended is all I intend to say.
okay.
Yeah.
Are there any other
otherwise it
questions?
looks good.
Okay, great.
Thanks, Cheryl.
Thank you, Cheryl.
All right, so I will
Appreciate it.
make the motion then that move that the select board vote to award a contract for professional services and to authorize the interim town administrator to sign as amended.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, great. So the motion is approved
As amended.
as amended.
And just, I mean, it just,
No, this is a good catch.
no, not just that, I'm just saying that Steve has proven to be invaluable to us, and this is good news for all of us, and he's very much appreciated, and we appreciate his willingness to come back and to help us, and to help Sean, and to help the town in this time of transition. There's a lot of change, and we really do appreciate Steve.
Great, thank you. So now we're on to item 5B.
In sort of laying out the training that was needed to sort of go past Stephen Ann's retirement, Cheryl and I had put together a sort of a training memo that basically identified what would need to be done and also how we would leverage things. So, you know, with taking care of this contract, there's some stuff that still needs to be done. And that document basically just identifies that roadmap. We have a lot of existing staff that we're going to be utilizing in order to provide training, as well as we do have documents. Our employees are incredibly smart. They've already been starting to reverse engineer something so they can get a better understanding. And we're going to continue to do that work. And then we also do have existing consultant services that we have in the past utilized and will continue to utilize in order to make sure that any crucial and sort of mission critical items are taken care of and addressed so that, you know, it's not going to be a problem. So we had a meeting this morning just reaffirming that with everyone in the department, make sure that they know that they're going to be well supported by Cheryl and I, and also the town as we go through. You know, anytime you have critical staff that are retiring or leaving to take another position, sometimes there's some leveraging of resources that we need to do, and you know, we're going to continue to do that with the Treasurer's Department and HR.
Great, thank you. And now item 5C, meeting protocols for in-person hybrid meetings.
So one of the things, and taking a look at the November 6th new guidance coming out from the governor. There's been some things, and I think anyone looking in this meeting can see one of them. One is that there's some more stringent requirements for mask wearing and guidance. I was on the phone with Jim Graffi this morning, sort of asking a little bit more about how it applies, and basically his perspective that the governor's mask wearing is needed for anything where there's a public that is meeting, i.e. this. And I've relayed that to other boards as well. So, for example, a couple months ago, the select board had authorized COA and a working group to meet in like the multi-purpose room. Just relate to them, like, hey, if you are going to be meeting, you need to wear masks. I have a request from the Ag Committee to meet November 17th here in 103 to conduct a hybrid meeting so that we can have regional planning staff from MMPC review the planning zoning work for transfer of development rights so that they can meet and talk with the Ag Committee, and then also have it as a public meeting. So that's something like they've asked me as far as can they hold it in here, and just want to make sure everyone sort of knows, you know, it is something, we do have the protocols to follow and utilize masks. So it is something that we're making sure on town side that when we have programs, we have meetings with staff that we're wearing them, and you know, then it becomes a question as far as, you know, does it cause us to reevaluate some of the practices, such as, you know, meetings that the board or any other board may continue to have.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the board on that update? Great. Thank you, Mr. Layden. Okay, so now we are on to town administrator update, general updates, Mr. Layden?
There's a couple things that have come in that I'd like to bring to the board's attention. One, finally with Indian Hill and LLB, took a couple weeks to nail down a site visit date, but this Thursday they're going to be visiting their architects and engineers, looking and getting a tour of Indian Hill, so that we can get that up and running and get a report out of them. Timeline, if memory serves from that contract, is once they do that assessment, a report as far as that analysis is sort of due back 45 days from that date. So hopefully in a month and a half, we'll get some information out of them as it relates to that site visit. Also, as board members may know, Amazon is currently has an application filed with the planning board, in that there's a number of issues that need to be considered. One, because of the potential impact all the vans would have on local roads. Town planner did email me asking if select board might be interested in appointing someone to serve on like a negotiation committee, just to identify what are some of the concerns the town would have to negotiate some mitigation as it relates to that project. So if there's anyone that has a real interest out of the board, let me know, or if multiples of you want to, you know, we can figure a way of fighting that out.
I wouldn't mind it.
So,
I'm interested. I Frank it all the time, but yeah, Joe's in. That's great.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's great.
Mark gave you the update on the library as far as signing the beam. There's going to be one more closure of the driveway coming up beginning in next week. You'll see that there's a trench right now. National Grid came in, brought in gas into the site. They're going to be paving that, and that should be one of the last times that they're going to have to really shut down that entrance as the services to the thank you very much to the library have been taken care of. Been working quite a bit, as you heard earlier in the meeting, with Ashley, and also our fire chief and other staff on trying to pull together the senior tax work-off and make sure that we can do that successfully, as well as dealing with bringing back some of the programs, which also does involve working with Park and Rec. Typically this time of year, the board starts having a tax classification. I was going to send out an email today, but I'm waiting for some more certainty coming out of the state DOR as it relates to them finalizing our value. We're going to be going ahead with that hearing on the 23rd. It just may be that we don't have final value numbers, but that we have projected numbers. So looking at just finalizing some of that data this week to provide to the board. Our plan would be to advertise that hearing the end of the week.
Madam Chair, if I might.
Sure.
Our norm, I think it predates your tenure here, Joe, is that we've usually went with an informational meeting first, with people a chance to review the numbers, and then have the hearing at the next subsequent meeting, so that there's kind of like a two-bite at the apple. Otherwise, you're getting a lot of data and perhaps input from the public, all at one meeting and vote. So we've adopted over the previous few years. Actually, Cheryl should remember this from last year. I just want to make sure that wasn't lost in the tracking that.
We can plan for something. Cheryl just texted me that she can hop on to clarify if you'd like.
Well, I don't need any clarification now. It's just that in the past, we've kind of got into what seemed to be a pretty good working system, where there were two nights that, so the subject was introduced, the numbers were put out there so people get a chance to look them over, and if they had any input for board members, they had a chance to get back to us, or, ruminate over it for a week and then come back and make a statement at the next meeting. So I don't know if that's what she had planned or not.
She didn't have that planned. One of the things was that with the board, with the exception of Matthew, which then Cheryl had said she can go over process and all those things separately. There's a question as far as whether or not that informational would be needed, since the board is very familiar with it.
I find it valuable, and I've been doing this since 1987. So, but it's more important for the public too.
Yeah.
Somebody who may not be keyed in one year may well be keyed in right this year, and it matters a lot to them. So.
Yeah.
I agree with you, Paul. I think the 2 days works out very well
Yeah, it
informationally
does.
for not only for us, but the public to see. And there's a good chance of having exchange in between if we need to. So.
Okay, great.
So if that means we have to add something to the schedule, maybe that's what we have to do. I know there's deadlines we have to meet with the state too and all that. I get it, but whatever we need to do to make that happen, I think we should.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, great. Anything else, Mr. Layden?
No, that is it.
Okay. So now we are on to item 7. We have our vote to sign the town administrator contract. As many of the public knows, we have appointed Mr. Anthony Ansaldi, as our new town administrator, and we entered into contract negotiations with him. The board discussed those contract in executive session, and now we are prepared to sign his contract as written.
Do you think he's watching?
He might be.
I think he's got a meeting of his own.
Yeah, actually, he does have a meeting tonight, I
That's right.
think. Yeah.
Make a statement like
Oh.
this. Let's put this off for another meeting.
Madam Chair, this is the first of 4 items on the consent agenda, so I don't know if you want to rattle them off one by one. I'm
Yeah,
happy
let's
to
do
read them.
that.
Okay. And then the first one, then I'll move that the select board vote to sign the town administrator contract for Anthony Ansaldi Jr.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then next, we have a vote to sign a contract for services with environmental sampling and testing services for asbestos survey regarding 119 Tehadawon Road.
And as we discussed earlier, the work's already underway,
Yep.
as the board is aware, so.
Post-dated?
So I would move that the select board vote to sign the contract with environmental sampling and testing services for an asbestos survey at 119 Tehadawon Road.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion's approved as written. We are on to item 7C. We have a contract with the Cambridge Public Health Commission in the town of Littleton.
The motion, but could you
Yeah.
speak to that, Joe? Maybe
Yeah.
what this is
Sure,
about?
what that is that's basically for flu clinic. The amount is a little over $1,300. Covers the cost of running flu clinic, so paid for through this grant.
That's right. Okay, you did send us an email on that, didn't you? Didn't you?
It's in the-
No, I think
It's in the packet.
yeah.
There's like
That's all right.
the contract's in there.
That email. Move that the select board, unless there's any questions, so.
Nope.
Okay. Move that the select board vote to sign the contract agreement between the Cambridge Public Health Commission and the town of Littleton.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion is approved as written. And then finally, we have an affirmation of approval to submit an MIA grant application for DBW safety monitoring equipment.
Exactly. So this is, this grant is being applied for through DPW to not only purchase equipment for gas detector, but then also for below ground electricity. So these are things that very often we have to contact DigSafe and others to then do. It causes some delays, and also this allows for us then to train ourselves into doing that and helps to expedite projects.
Great. Any questions from the board on that? Okay.
It's a safety thing for a test monitor to go
Yeah.
into
Exactly.
manholes and things like that.
Yep. Great.
All right. I'll move that the select board vote to affirm approval to submit the MIA grant application for DPW safety monitoring equipment.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Motion is approved as written. And next, we are on to meeting minutes. Did everyone have a chance to review the minutes? Any
Thorough
questions?
and accurate, as always.
I have one correction.
Okay, whereabouts?
The vote on trick or treat says 4-0, but it was in fact 4-1.
Catch, Matthew.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. I trust that Sue will find that in the...
She will.
Where is that?
It's on page 77 of the packet, if that's where I'm looking. Right near the bottom, right above the townwide 25 speed limit heading.
Okay, yeah, got you there. Right, yeah, it has
Quoted
the
it
roll
correctly,
call
just wrong,
accurate.
yeah.
They
but it
quote, yeah,
doesn't-
just like last time. She got it, the vote's right, she just got the numbers wrong.
Gotcha, okay. Did that change? Any other changes, board members? Comments, additions? If not, I will move that the board vote to approve the regular session meeting minutes of October 26, 2020 as amended.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so the minutes are approved as amended. And before we adjourn, I just wanted to make one comment that I forgot to mention, is that Mr. Ansaldi will be starting with us on November 30th. So very much looking forward to having him come on board. Lots of work to be done, but he is certainly the right person to be part of our team and help us move forward with many exciting things for the town of Littleton.
And never out of place to point out that we have been and will continue to be well-served, and we really haven't suffered any major mishap by having Joe as our interim, and
Nope.
always appreciate that,
Yeah,
Joe.
absolutely.
Great job.
Thanks.
You're
One
all
more meeting.
You're all right.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hey, 5 minutes ahead of schedule.
There we go. Look at that. Good night, everybody.
Good night, all.